All right, let's just jump right in. We usually think of science fiction as pure fun. Spaceships, robots, crazy alien worlds. But what if the gap between those stories and our actual reality is, well, way smaller than you think? It turns out, science fiction isn't just trying to predict the future. In a lot of ways, it's actually building it.
I mean, think about why you pop on a sci-fi movie or crack open a book. We're looking for something, right? An escape.
We want to get lost in another universe, a place where all the boring rules of our world just don't apply. It feels like total fantasy. But here's the big question, the one that changes everything. What if those fantasy worlds are actually the blueprints for our own? What if that escape is really just a sneak peek?
And look, this connection is not just some happy accident. There is a surprisingly direct pipeline that runs from the stories we see on screen right into the research and development labs that are literally creating our tomorrow.
And I mean, this isn't just a theory. The proof is everywhere. You've got Elon Musk, who flat out says Isaac Asimov's books are why he's so obsessed with making us a multiplanetary species. The European Space Agency literally published a report digging through sci-fi for real tech ideas. And May I Jemison, the first African-American woman in space, she saw herself up there because she first saw Lieutenant Uhura on the bridge of the Enterprise. The inspiration is real and it is powerful.
But science fiction does more than just give us a shopping list of cool inventions. It really has two jobs. On one hand, it shows us these incredible futures we should be racing toward. And on the other, it paints these terrifying pictures of futures we absolutely need to avoid. It's both the gas pedal and the emergency brake.
And you can actually see our collective dreams in the data. When researchers looked at hundreds of sci-fi stories, what's the #1 superpower we imagine? It's flying, by a huge margin. Now, this isn't just us daydreaming. It's a huge arrow pointing at our deepest desires. And it's what fuels real-world projects, from jetpacks to, even flying cars. So here are those two forces side by side. You've got the utopian pull, that optimistic, can-do future of Star Trek or those awesome exoskeletons from comic books that make us want to build something better. But then you have the dystopian push, the chilling stories like Real Humans that make us question our relationship with tech, or WALL-E, which is basically a giant warning sign about our trash. One says full speed ahead, the other is yelling, hey, maybe slow down and think about this.
And believe me, those warnings are not just made up. A lot of post-apocalyptic stories are about using up all our resources, and the reality is pretty startling. Some studies suggest we're on track to burn through more minerals in the next 30 years or so than in the last 70,000 years combined. Science fiction has been sounding this alarm for a long, long time.
And that's really where the power of a good story comes in. Scientists can give us the numbers and charts, but as author Paolo Bacigalupi puts it, fiction makes us feel it. A spreadsheet about mineral depletion is one thing. A story about a gritty, desperate world that's run out of everything. Now that's a gut punch that raw data just can't deliver.
So, this whole idea is now so widely accepted that it's actually being turned into a formal process. It's become a literal tool for innovators.
And the main tool is called design fiction. Now, the key thing to get here is that this is not about predicting what's going to happen. It's about using stories to explore all the messy human consequences of new tech. It's about asking, what if, to provoke really important conversations before we build something we might regret.
So how do you actually do it? Well, it's a pretty simple but powerful process. First, you just tell a story about some future technology. Then, and this is the cool part, you create a real prop from that story. Maybe it's a fake instruction manual, or the packaging for a product that doesn't exist yet. And finally, you use that physical thing to kickstart a real debate. Do we actually want this? What could go wrong?
And get this isn't just some quirky academic thing. Military planners are looking at video games to get ideas for future tactics. And huge corporations are using design fiction in their R&D labs to basically beta test the future and figure out the societal impact of their next big product. Storytelling is serious business.
This whole process taps into something deeper, an idea called a technotype. These are basically the big reoccurring tech ideas that are swimming around in our collective imagination. They show up in old myths, and they definitely show up in sci-fi. Think about the humanoid robot, or a base on Mars. These aren't new ideas, they're like these deep-seated dreams that we keep coming back to, and now we're actively trying to build them.
So, if you accept all this, that we're actively building the futures we dream up, then that comes with a massive responsibility, right? It means we have to be really careful to engineer a better tomorrow, to build these things with a conscience.
And the most forward-thinking engineering schools are already on this. They're trying to teach a technical culture that goes way beyond the math and materials. It's not enough to know how something works. You have to understand how people will actually use it in the real, messy world. And you have to grapple with what it means politically, socially, even symbolically. And that is exactly why sci-fi is such a crucial tool for ethics. This quote just nails it. By exploring these imaginary worlds, we get a safe space to talk about the really dangerous stuff. We can debate the promises and the fears of our own future before it's too late to change course. So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that the stories we tell ourselves about what's coming next are not just idle entertainment. They are some of the most powerful creative forces we have. You can almost think of science fiction as a kind of collective dream for all of society. It's like a giant flight simulator where we can test drive thousands of different futures, explore all the amazing opportunities, and crash and burn in all the dangerous ones without actually risking our necks.
In the end, what sci-fi really teaches us is that the future isn't just something that washes over us like a wave. It's something we build piece by piece. The stories we tell, the ideas we get excited about, the warnings we decide to listen to, those are the blueprints. So the only real question left is, what kind of future are you helping to write?